deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them, parents. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby.
She's good.
Taylor Ferber.
All right, we are officially on the heels of the 4th of July. And I hate to break it to y'all, y'all have been drafted. That's right. We need to officially stop the spread, guys. It is the wild west out there with diseases running amok. And I ain't talking about COVID. I ain't talking about STDs and, another just Saturday night in Miami. I'm not talking about dementia that's running rampant through the White House, okay? I am talking about the disease of being power hungry. That's right. Today, we are going to be looking at the people who hold on, like they are holding on, like it is a Wilson Phillips song, okay, to their power and holding up the power structures that be. And it is beyond politics, it's media, it's business, entertainment, it is everywhere, okay? So we are here today to not only stop the spread, but to expose the hoes. Okay, because these people literally be up here. They will do anything to hold. They would literally sell their own children on the black market if it means holding on to their power. And we're really going to explore today. I mean, where do you draw the line? To what end? When is enough enough? So first up at bat is good old Sleepy Joe. I mean, would you really have it any other way? But I also bring this up not just because I like to rag on him or his party for that matter. Like I will rag on anybody who is deserving, but because it is all we can see, talk, think about, sleep about, breathe about, hear about, okay? Is Joe and Joe Biden, the Jack and Jill of our nightmares who are playing Ring Around the Rosie in Joe Biden's nursery home and will do anything to hold on to their power. So what is going on? Now it has been the rapture of politics, okay? And after the wretched debate, which we spoke about in last week's episode, now there has been this major fallout of, Joe Biden, no big deal, the leader of the free world, like the, most democratic society, in the globe and highest honor that one can have, but his ability to run the nation. And so now he's been doing this press, he's been taking these meetings with congressional Democrats. Joe Biden is hitting the press scene, okay? Like she is out here promoting a Transformers movie, and it's all just a sad scene, and here is why, okay? It's tragic enough, like it is a Shakespearean tragedy enough that Joe Biden is in this bad shape. Like I know that we all make fun of it, but when you really think about it, it's like how much making fun of it is there to, like this is actually just fat old sad, okay? And so he did a really softball, lame ass interview with George Stephanopoulos, okay, who like may as well have been his kindergarten teacher, asking him really sad questions, not pushing back on anything. For example, he asked Joe Biden, like everybody is talking about this debate. I bet you Osama bin Laden came back from the grave to watch this debate, okay? So George asked Joe Biden, have you watched it? This guy can't even recall.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
He's deflecting anything about a cognitive ability test, doesn't know if he watched the debate.
Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me.
Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No one said I had to.
And because Stephanopoulos is so hell-bent, okay, on braiding like the 2 hairs that's left on Joe Biden's head, he doesn't even push back. Like, dude, you don't even recall if you watch a debate that everybody's talking about. That's basically the beginning of your demise. But literally, not only does Joe Biden mumble incoherently, and I think he literally says the word goodest. I think, correct me, fact check me if you want. I literally think he says the word goodest, okay? But he will not back down. He's like, I am not leaving. He is kung fu
gripping this position like he is an extra in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like he has his kung fu grip on this and he is not letting go. And who is his accomplice but Jill Biden, who does an interview, I think with ABC, same thing. She's like, he is not leaving. He is what our country needs. He is what our country wants. Meanwhile, you have Democratic governors meeting with Joe Biden over the weekend because they're like, we are straight up concerned. Don't worry, those motherfuckers are power hungry too. We're gonna get you out. None of you are safe, okay? Hide your kids, hide your wives, hide your seats, hide your AOCs. None of y'all are safe. So they had a meeting with Joe Biden being like, bro, like, what's the deal? Like, are you gonna step back? Like, bow out gracefully, like, have a little dignity, like, pull up your Depends and let's do this, right? Joe Biden ends up coming back to them with explaining how he just needs some tuning up to efficiently, don't worry, guys, don't fret. All I need is to sleep more. I need to have a night bedtime at my nursing home at 8 p.m. because I guess Xi Jinping and like Kimmy Boy over there, they're only planning attacks, you know, from dusk till, from the morning till 8. So after that, we're good, guys, don't worry. Biggest joke ever. Right? Biggest joke ever. They will simply not let go. They will not. And listen, Joe Biden, you know, even like the Black female president that Joe Biden thinks he is apparently, which he apparently said in an interview, they are not out for us, the American people, contrary to what they jibber jabber, blibber blabber all day long, okay? Joe Biden is out for one Jill Biden. Joe Biden, and people are starting to finally say, it's like, this is this arrogant man who just will not let go. He will not let go to his bedtime, amongst other things, I suppose. And so everybody does this. And that's something that I want to point out, right? Everybody does it, the left and the right. Don't even get me started, okay? I watched the latest Bill Maher panel, and it's him and this man and Tulsi Gabbard. And so they are, I was hard to watch. It was literally hard to watch, right? But Bill Maher does his, you know, little jokey thing about he will vote for anybody but Trump. He will vote for Joe Biden's head in a blue jar if that's what it takes, right? And Tulsi Gabbard is just sitting there like the everyday person, I feel like, being like, it was so hard to watch. It was like watching two theatrical, hysterical dance moms, stage moms, soccer moms melt down with Trump derangement syndrome at the thought of all this. Like literally two little baby brats melting down in hysteria. And Bill Maher's whole thing is, look, similarly to Joe Biden not letting go of power, like, dude, you had your run. His whole hang up is, look, this isn't democracy. Trump wouldn't concede. His voice gets higher. He gets all animated up in Tulsi's face. Sidebar, Tulsi held her game. Like, I would have been like, you guys chill. Like, she's sitting there calm, cool, and collected, and they're just ranting off like two deranged, drunken housewives, right? Like, it's out of control. But his whole thing is Trump wouldn't concede, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And so this is where, again, both, I'm not saying what Trump did or didn't do and not conceding, like, that's not cool and that's not okay. But they go the next level with hysterics. Like, he's actually really going to be some, like, new age dictator with all, like, again, the delusion and the derangements. Like, chill. So, again, both sides do this when again, and this goes beyond political lines, okay, as we're going to lay out here. But the point is, when people get power, they do not want to let it go. And so you even have, like, it's this whole swampy, incestual interconnectedness of people, even if it's not Jill and Joe Biden themselves. Again, I bring him up because the obligatory Gavin Newsom mention, right? But like Gavin Newsom holding on, like holding by a string, persisting and insisting Joe Biden is going to be our next nominee, guys. And by the way, for those of you saying that Kamala, if she's the next president, is a DEI hire, that's just racist.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
First of all, she is a DEI hire, babe. Like, where's the lie? But again, do you honestly think Gavin Newsom actually believes this shit? Absolutely not. But they are all so corrupt. They all circle jerk each other until the end of time. They don't care, even at our expense. Guys, think about this. Even at the risk of having a leader who can't even get a coherent thought out straight, okay? simply and merely to maintain their party, their entity, their organization's power. And it is damn right sad. And so you even have people at lower levels, right? Like I said, you have the congressional Democrats, you have people at state levels. Now they're like, oh, fuck, like don't step on my gown, because now they're worried people aren't going to vote for them if Joe Biden's performance and what Joe Biden represents is going to reflect poorly on them. So now they're like meeting with the guy, like, we need somebody in here to save our own ass. Again, do you think they give two shits? No, they care about their own ass. So that's what I have to say about that is, all these people, they just be super corrupt. And it is not the vibe. It is not the vibe, honestly. Like I said, speaking of G and speaking of Kimmy, like this is giving G and Kimmy vibes. Hanging on to power and not letting it go. And we are perpetually in this thing of threat to democracy this and threat to democracy that. And it just goes round and round in this circus, okay? When neither really see that what a true threat to democracy is, who poses a real threat to democracy, okay? Being in other countries, and the idea of being a dictatorship, a tyrant in a monarchy, and not giving up power, right? Don't throw stones. Don't throw stones, okay? So we are now going, speaking of throwing, let's throw a football down a field. And we're going to do a little bit of my stomping grounds, not in a way that I would like, okay? This does not bring me joy. I have to say, we're now going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about entertainment media, right? And these men unnecessarily ruin their lives because they are so desperate to cling on to their power. They need not ruin their lives, but they do. And they continue to. And their dignity while we're at that. So it brings me great sadness to move on to Joe Paterno and what happened with Jerry Sandusky. So if you don't know, now you know, I am a Penn State alum, proud Penn State alum. We are the smart ones. Remix. So yes, it is my biggest claim to fame in this life because I may have interviewed, Oprah.
How are you, ladies?
Is that a cute skirt? Too?
Why, thank you. They might flash you, unintentionally.
Kim Kardashian, Michael Douglas, Chris Pratt, you name it. But do you know I was a Penn State tour guide? Okay, my claim to fame, my highest achievement in this existence. But anywho, so what's crazy is when and I'm going to explain to you a little bit of backstory if you don't know, but the whole Joe Paterno fallout happened when I was upper class. I was a junior, I think, at that point, or a senior. And so it was crushing. But basically, Joe Paterno was not only synonymous with Penn State, but college football. Like he may as well have been the state college mayor, like, the first black mayor in black to the future, except Joe Paterno wasn't black. But the point is he ran the entire city and it was so much more than football. And Penn State is such a football, collegiate team spirit town, Happy Valley, like love to see it. And Joe Paterno was that. He was like the longest running coach in college football. The Peachy Paterno ice cream at the school creamery was named after him. That's a fun fact I'm not even charging you for, bringing it out from the archives of my tours, okay? There were statues erected in his honor. I mean, Joe Paterno was Penn State. Like he and his little old wife literally lived, resided, and died there in like a little college on the campus, basically, okay? But what happened was, sadly, it came to light that his assistant coach for years, you probably recognize his name, Jerry Sandusky, it came to light that he was essentially a serial child molester. And he was convicted on 52 counts, okay, of literally molesting minors and children, namely boys. And so he was at Penn State for over 20 years as Joe Pa's assistant coach, was then, I think, like a defense coach, had won award for best assistant coach of the year, what have you, right? And some of the time overlapped in the counts against him, or the counts that were found, he was found guilty of, overlapped in when he was coaching from Penn State and thereafter, right? So basically, push came to shove of, obviously he and Joe Paterno spent a lot of time together. Did Joe Paterno know? And it became just absolutely crushing and devastating because Joe Pa was just this sweet little old man, like America, college football, Penn State sweetheart. And did he brush this under the rug? Why? To not only maintain Jerry Sandusky's power, but his own. And maybe it was past the point where it was too far gone and he just had to keep it under wraps. And, it's really unfortunate. And eventually it came to the surface. I don't know if Joe Pa ever explicitly said that he knew, but I think he did ultimately reveal that he knew that, there was some, slim shady business, some of it perhaps involving minors. But what happened was there was such swift action taken. They literally, Joe Pa's name was immediately, demoralized, defamed, degraded. They tore his statue down. And what happened was he basically died of a broken heart, right? Like he died shortly thereafter. And so it just goes to show, and it's really unfortunate. But again, like, I know we joke a lot on this show, but when you look at like, this is like when I joke about people sacrificing their dignity for power, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And, unfortunately, that is not the goalpost of this. Like, this is not the finish line. Okay. This is in many ways just the beginning, because let's talk about, while we're on this path, holding up the power structures that be and people who were completely complicit, right? Similarly to, honestly, to these congressional Democrats here who were completely complicit to hold on to their own power, to look out for their own self and their own ass when it came to people in entertainment. Like, who do you have but Harvey Weinstein and P. Diddy? Okay. Can we talk for time out, team? Need to take a tea. Okay. We just witnessed a video of P. Diddy brutally abusing and assaulting Cassie in a public hotel. This man has the audacity to return to Instagram over the weekend, posting in his private jet. Okay. Sir, you are beyond a lost cause. Like, there is no hope for you. Okay. There is a special place in Joe Biden's cabinet for you. That's all I have to say. But you have people who, and this obviously trickled down, right? In Hollywood, like Mr. No-Name producer who thinks he can grope a woman, like, get a fucking life. But you have Harvey Weinstein, who is an extremely powerful entertainment mogul and was the head of the Weinstein Company, which produced so many famous movies. And then you had P. Diddy of Bad Boy Records, right? Bad Boy for life is just not aging well for him, sadly. But you think about how many people, and like, sadly, it's a mirror of what's happening right now, right? With the Democrats, with Joe Biden. You think about how many people knew about the abuses that both of them perpetuated for years. Like, J-Lo, you best be happy that the media is focusing on your divorce right now, sweetie, and not looking into the depths of what you knew about Diddy's misconduct and behavior. But you think about all the people who knew, and they were, like I said, saving their own ass for whatever reason. They didn't want to speak up. They didn't want to say anything. They looked the other way, swept it under the rug. Woo, that's a pun way too close to home right now. Swept it under the rug.
Harvey Weinstein, who believed in us and made this movie.
Harvey and Bob Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein. Thank you, Harvey Weinstein.
In their own self-interest, right? Same thing with what we're seeing right now in politics. It's wild to me that now suddenly, we talked about in the last episode, like, how, like, is it giving Helen Keller, and how much did these media sites, politicians, like, know about Joe Biden's decline? But now suddenly you have the New Yorker, you have New York Times writing all of these exposés on people who say Joe Biden didn't even remember who the fuck they were, and that he's literally a corpse, mummified, dead behind the eyes. And so similarly to people like P. Diddy and Harvey Weinstein, it's almost like when the floodgates are open, it is just like past the point of no return. And it gives people permission in a sense to be like, wait, yeah, hold on, I saw this. It's like keeping this like really dirty little family secret. And then once it's out there, bitch, it's out there. But it's wild how it just kind of takes over like a tsunami. Like once the door is open, now suddenly everybody comes out of the woodwork and tells their stories. And it just goes to show how everybody is not everybody. Okay. I'm not trying to throw everybody under the bus here, but I'm just saying how so many people are so self-interested that they will do whatever it takes and, look the other way. So, speaking of looking the other way, y'all are going to love this. Who do we have up next but the NFL and the Cleveland Browns, right? So, speaking of all of this, when you talk about self-interest and power, okay, the Cleveland Browns being like the shameless Shelleys of the world. What did they do? I did episodes on this way back when it was happening. But if you don't remember, this team spent a record amount of money to get Deshaun Watson on the team, despite the fact that there were countless, very similar accounts of assault about Deshaun Watson from all kinds of women, right? And, some were held up, some were, taken to court, and there were negotiations and payoffs and this and settlements and what have you, right? But the Cleveland Browns being so shameless, being so self-interested in, well, we want views, we want to make money. Deshaun's going to be our, star little player. So we're going to look the other way. We're going to pay a record amount of money to have this man on our team, right? Meanwhile, same thing with the presidency. It's like there are so many gifted, genius, talented minds, in this case, athletes out there. Like, you guys are going to go this hard and stick your necks out that much and be that immoral and corrupt to get Deshaun Watson when how many other amazing players are there out there? Like, what are we even saying? And so what does the NFL do? They give him a little slap on the wrist. They put him in a little timeout. They put him in a little high school suspension, like no recess for him. And then he returns a year later. And they full well have the capability to suspend him for life, right? But no, we're going to give him a little like year timeout. And then, he really learned his lesson. And now let's have him hit the field and really make some money. Shame, shame, shame on the game and on your name. Right? And that, again, is the lengths, the yards, the field lines people will go to hold on to power and for their self-interest. So when you really think it's about you, bitch, most likely it is not. It's for the ratings. It's for the fame. It's for the, like I said, power hungry. And don't kill the messenger. Okay. Oh, and the twist is with Deshaun Watson that after all that, the joke is really on the Cleveland Browns because after he did have his 1-year suspension and came back, he ultimately sucked anyway.
Brother, this guy stinks!
So yeah, joke's on you guys. Like, karma doesn't sleep, babe. Okay? Karma isn't just, constricted to the NFL sketch. Sorry. Again, don't kill the messenger. So let's conclude all this and bring it back. Bring it back, backing that ass up in a healthy, consensual way. Okay. Let's bring it back to politics. So I don't know if you know this, but it's funny because, right, we talk about, I'm revisiting this theme of like the threat to democracy and now how that is so like weaponized and watered down and, and just blown out of proportion and delusional and all this, right? But what's crazy is when you think about a real threat to democracy, that would be a president. That's why we have the 2-term limit for our presidencies here, because think about it. Like, you can't just be having someone like Kimmy over there going on and on and on for years on end, right? But you may not know that Franklin D. Roosevelt was the longest sitting president in American history. He actually was president for 12 years. And he won a 3rd term by a landslide. Now, you may be thinking, Tay, how was this the way? I'm not trying to rap. What can I say? Like the ghost of Diddy wishes. Okay. But the people actually really wanted Franklin D. Roosevelt back again. Why? Because they trusted him. They believed in him. They were inspired by him. They felt like he really actually helped them out. He got them through the Depression, right? And what happened was on the brink of his 3rd term, was the beginning of World War II. So they really trusted him to not only try to keep America out of the war, but to navigate them through the war. And so, like I said, he won by a landslide. But ultimately, like I said, you may be wondering, well, how did that fly? Like, did the founding fathers know what the sitch was or what? It was actually kind of an unwritten rule, the 2-term limit, ever since George Washington set precedent being the first president, right? Because he was like, nah, I'm going to get to him in a sec. But he was like, nah, like the 3rd term ain't it. Like, we ain't trying to be North Korea. Like, it's not the vibe, right? So it was never really set in stone until the 22nd Amendment was made in the 50s after Roosevelt, because it was like, okay, like, wait, but like that's when like threat to democracy wasn't just fake news. Like, that's when it actually was a threat, right? But the difference between Franklin D. Roosevelt and what's happening right now with the Bidens is that the people actually trusted and believed in him and were happier with him and wanted him. Whereas Jill and Joe Biden are trying to convince us that we're happy with them and we're not. Okay. So the math ain't mathing. It ain't lining up. Right. And the sad thing is, and we see it time and time again, and this is like a whole other TED talk for another day. Like, I'm talking Robert Greene, like 48 Laws of Power. But power does have that ability to truly corrupt. I'm going to read you a quote by the famed British philosopher, okay, Lord Atkin. No, not Lord Elton John. Okay, Lord Atkin. And he said, this is in the late 1880s, right? He said, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts totally. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts totally. And that is what we are seeing here, right? And it's sadly the tale as old as time, that unlike Joe Biden, just doesn't get old and always holds up. And Washington, going back to him, understood this. He understood, listen, they tried to drag his ass out of retirement for a 3rd term. And he was like, no, like, this ain't it. He understood that just going on and on, power will corrupt, okay? That will run the risk of being a monarchy, a tyrannical government, a dictatorship, you know? I mean, can you imagine these guys in their white little wigs looking at all this shit now? They'd be like, I tried to tell y'all, you guys are over here like a mess.
President Washington.
Hello, President Washington. Welcome.
Again, it doesn't matter. It could be politics. It could be on the football field. It could be in the movie theater. It could be in the White House. Here or there, they'd be like, y'all are a goddamn shame. Okay, and you know what? Stop doing these really weird coordinated dances when you should be out there learning about philosophy and literature and how the world works. Like, what our brains cannot compute. You know, they were onto a couple things back then. I'm just saying. They would be twirling their white wigs, perplexed at the situation, okay? And the actual situation, okay? Like, Mike, the situation, yeah, they would just be like, what has our society come to? Like, we did not lay the groundwork. We did not ask for this. Okay, but as you guys can see, it's just basically, listen, I don't mean to be a drag, okay? But it's also like, altruism is a falsity, babe, okay? Not all the time, but let's face it, okay? We're all self-interested. I'm self-interested. You're self-interested. Your dog's self-interested. Everybody is self-interested. And power, you know, it's a good thing. Wielding power for good, you know, versus bad. But don't think for 2 seconds that it's always actually about you. Like, I know we're in narcissism culture, but sweetie, like, in these cases, it is about them, not you. You think Harvey Weinstein ever would have come clean? Ever would have seen the light of day? Yeah, please. He would bring his fat ass to every single studio and monopolize every single script that he could and corrupt and destruct every poor young actress on the scene. T-Rexing his way, Godzillaing his way through that shit and not giving a fuck, right? So the point is, we are all self-interested. But ask yourselves and ask the powers that be and the leaders, hold them accountable, because, bitch, sometimes you gotta wonder, when is enough enough?